All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right, and what I want to get into, all right, this morning is all right, the Lord's pleasure, all right, for His people, and there's a remnant, of Israel, all right, whom it's the Lord's pleasure, to come and save us and give us a kingdom, okay, with Yahweh Shai, all right, and before, we will be delivered, we will have to begin to come into the understanding of who we are, our power, faith, obedience, understanding. Okay, we will have to be humbled down. All right, and we will have to fall in love with righteousness again. Okay, that's why even real quick we always get it. But let's go here and we'll get into the lesson. Okay, because we can't go into this enough. How this affliction was necessary for our growth in righteousness, for us to be developed in righteousness, man. Because when you go to Psalms 119 and 71, all right, I want to read in the NLT. It says, "My suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees." So this captivity, okay, well, for the sake of the elect, well, the hopeful elect will learn to appreciate righteousness in this captivity. In this last round of suffering before we get to the kingdom, we will learn to appreciate. All right, righteousness, man. Okay, we will grow into an appreciation for righteousness before, all right, we would be established again. Okay, as rulers in the earth, we had to come to an appreciation and an understanding of righteousness, man. We would have to get to the point to where we see that the earth can't function in no other way outside the righteousness of Yahweh Bashem Shai. We had to come to that conclusion. We had to come to that fact. Okay? But there was, all right, in the midst of what? Suffering in this affliction, man. You see, in this last captivity. So before, we, would be qualified to be joint heirs, man, we had to be perfected in this suffering, man. We had to be developed and mature in righteousness in the midst of this suffering, man. Just as Yahweh Shai was perfected in suffering, man. So you go here to the book of Luke chapter 12. All right. It's Luke 12 and let's start here at 29. It says, "And seek not, all right, ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be you of doubtful mind." Because we in the times, where our power is conditioning us to trust, to be patient, okay, to have patience, to be patient, okay, because we're coming to a time, all right, where we know that the devil, the Lord got the spirit on the devil to collapse this global economy, man. Okay, things are going to get more scarce. Things are going to get more tighter. He's getting ready to put the squeeze, on society. Okay, as he's getting ready to unveil, okay, his mark of the beast, man, the MOTB, the C-hip. And he wants people in desperation, man. So it's going to be some desperate times out here, man. But see, we're not in uncertainty as these people are. We know these times are coming, and our power has made a promise that we was going to be good in these times, man. And we really have to lean on that promise, man. We really have to trust and be patient and be unmovable based on the promises of the scriptures, man. Because we're promised to be provided for in these times. Okay, verse 30, it said, "For all these things do the nations of the world, all right, seek after, and your Father knows that you have need of all these things," man. So the times is coming up because we go into these things and we report these things, the gas prices going up, food prices, and this going on, certain nations, we're going to see going to chaos even before it hit here. Okay, so as we see these things happening, we got to know that he is. And he knows what we need going into this time. All right, the Father ain't set us up to go into these times, okay, with doubtful minds. Okay, the Lord doesn't want us to go into these times with doubt. We have to be fully confident, man. We have to be fully, okay, obedient to our power. You see, we have to fully trust in our power in these last times, and the provision is already made. Okay, the provision is already made. The Lord is already has everything in place we need to make it will the elect, man. Even the spirit to, all right, accept the death if that's our lot. Okay, so even the spirit to do that and go through with it, well, that spirit is already provided, man. So from spiritual powers to the spirit to take the death if need be, and everything in between is already provided for, man. Food, water, drink. Okay, we get promised these things over and over again. Matter of fact, let's just go to it real quick. When you go to all right, let's go here to Second Ezra. Chapter 2, all right. Second Ezra chapter 2 and verse 27. It said, Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance, man. Hey, enough said. You see? And we gotta lean on that. We gotta trust in that, man. And it's gonna look it's gonna be we're gonna be in circumstances to where it's gonna be dire. And it's gonna be like, damn. But we gotta lean on these words, man. We gotta lean on the Lord, because guess what? We still gonna have our ability to pray through the midst of all this, man. We still gonna have the ability to throw up prayers, man. Okay, in the midst of the tribulation, the straight gate, the scarcity. All right. Well, the scripture tell us, be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, all others, okay, shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry. So not only are we going to have substance, we're going to be merry. Okay, and the Lord is more than capable of doing that, man. While the earth is suffering, man, to have his elect merry and have an abundance, man. And we know there's a straight gate before we get to the Lord's favor, man. We got to be proven. We got to be tried. We're being tried daily. Okay, and our trials are just going to intensify in the midst of Jacob's trouble, man. But we're being tried daily. Okay, so let's go here. All right, to the book of Luke. Back to the book of Luke, chapter 12 and 30. It says, For all these things do the nations of the world seek after. Okay, see, these heathens which have no God, they have to worry about that. And 2/3, which, they're likened to heathens in this time, 2/3 of our people. Okay, they're not rooted in the faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, so their only means is to seek carnal means to try to, pacify the situations that the Lord is going to bring to the earth, man. And ultimately it's going to lead to that sea hip. Okay, if they survive to even make it to that point, okay, it's going to lead to a horrible death of that sea hip, which a sea hip is still a horrible death by nukes, man. Okay, Luke 12 and 31, but rather seek ye the kingdom of the Most High, and all these things shall be added unto you, man. So rather seek the kingdom, okay, of the Most High, and all these things shall be added unto you, man. So we're seeking the kingdom, and it begins with seeking righteousness, man. We're seeking righteousness, man, and everything else is going to be added unto us, man. So we prioritize, all right, because the kingdom, all right, comes with what? A labor. Right now, we're laboring for the kingdom. So we're on our watch. Brothers is teaching, brothers is being, growing in the brotherhood, how to be brotherly. Brothers is growing into leaders, man. So we're seeking the kingdom. We're seeking to be leaders of the righteous kingdom to come. Okay? So that's us seeking the kingdom, man, by actually, rehearsing these righteous acts, because we're rehearsing for the kingdom, you know, being tapped in on our watch, man, you know, being, on our assignment, man, that's seeking the kingdom. Because when we're watching, what are we watching for? The coming of the kingdom. Because when Yahweh Shai comes, that's the kingdom. It's over for Esau, man, these heathens, man. Okay? Verse 32 said, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Okay? It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. You see? So we're at the time now where the Lord is finna perform his pleasure and give his people, all right, a kingdom forever, man. Okay? So the Lord's getting ready to perform his good pleasure. You see? That's why you go here, Jeremiah. All right, with Jeremiah 29. Jeremiah 29 and 11. It said, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end," man. So the Lord doesn't have evil planned for his remnant. Okay? There's an expected end. Even in death, man, the remnant, all right, are going to be raised up to immortals, man. That's that expected end, man. All right? To be immortals, man, in righteousness, man, to be righteous immortals, man, ruling with Yahweh Shai, man. That's the expected end for the hopeful elect, beginning with the first fruits, man. Okay? And nothing can separate us from that expected end, not even death. Okay? The Lord said he got thoughts of peace and not of evil, man. Okay? So the Lord's, all right, pleasure for his people is a righteous, eternal rulership, man. Okay? And nothing Esau can separate us from that. Okay? That's why you go here. All right, Second Esdras 2, same chapter, but you jump down. Second Esdras 2 and 2, it said, "Thus said the Lord unto Esdras, tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel," man. So the Lord said, "Look, I would have been gave y'all the kingdom, but we had to be perfected through affliction, man. We had to grow into an appreciation of righteousness, man. We had to develop into those mature, well-rounded leaders that the Lord wanted us to be, man. So we had to experience both sides. We had to be at the bottom, you know, experience a wicked kingdom from the bottom, man, to really understand the importance of a righteous rulership, the necessity of a righteous rulership, man. All right, it said that glory also will I take unto me and give these the everlasting tabernacle which I have prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an ointment, a sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Okay? Which means what, man? We have those new bodies, man. Okay? Those everlasting tabernacles, man. They're already prepared everlasting life, man. You see, and this is the Lord's good pleasure and their glory, and the glory of the Most High is what? That he's immortal. So he's going to put that glory on us, man, and make us immortal, man. Okay? You see? "And give these the everlasting tabernacles which I have prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an ornament of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Go, and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you, and that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch, man." Okay, the kingdom is prepared. Watch, man. And this is why we're on our watch. We're watching for a righteous kingdom, okay, that's coming. Okay? And we're seeing the calamity and the tribulation, all right, that's prophesied to happen before, all right, Yahweh Shai comes and usher in the righteous kingdom, man. So we're watching for our kingdom to come. That's why we're in tune, to, these wars and, the economy, the MOTB, and all these things that are happening as this devil is trying to establish his new world order, where we know it's going to be met, all right, with prophecy, man. Okay? Which is going to cancel out and void out everything that this devil is trying to do, man. Okay? And righteousness is going to be established in the earth. And that's the Lord good pleasure. You see? So that's the point. Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified till next time. Say shalom. Kwame Yashala. Abba Shalom.